Few places on earth carry the weight of history quite like Palestine. A narrow strip of land along the eastern shore of the Mediterranean Sea, it sits at the crossroads of three continents: Africa, Asia, and Europe. For thousands of years, this land has been a meeting point of civilizations, a cradle of faith, a battleground of empires, and the heart of one of the most complex and enduring conflicts of the modern world. To understand Palestine today, we must travel far back to the very beginning of recorded human civilization. The land we call Palestine has been inhabited for tens of thousands of years. Archaeological evidence shows that early humans settled in this region during the Stone Age, leaving behind traces of their lives in caves and along ancient riverbeds. But it was during the Bronze Age, roughly 5,000 years ago, that organized urban life truly began to take shape here. The Canaanites were among the earliest known inhabitants to build cities and establish a distinct culture in this land. They constructed walled cities, developed trade networks, worshipped a complex pantheon of gods, and laid the agricultural and cultural foundations that would influence every civilization that came after them. Cities like Jericho, one of the oldest continuously inhabited places on earth, were already ancient when the Canaanites called this land home. The ancient Egyptians recognized the strategic importance of this region. For centuries, Egypt extended its influence northward into Canaan, using it as a buffer zone and a trade corridor. Egyptian records mention Canaanite cities, describe military campaigns through this land, and document the movement of peoples across its borders. It was during this period that, according to biblical tradition, a group of Semitic people known as the Israelites entered the land. The Hebrew Bible describes their journey from Abraham's migration from Mesopotamia to the years of slavery in Egypt, to the Exodus led by Moses, and finally to the settlement of Canaan under Joshua. Whether these events are taken as historical fact, religious narrative, or a combination of both, they became the foundation of one of the world's great religious traditions, and gave the land a sacred significance that echoes to this day. Around 1000 BCE, the Kingdom of Israel was established under King Saul, then expanded under King David, who made Jerusalem his capital, and King Solomon, who built the first temple, a structure that would become the holiest site in Judaism. This kingdom, however, did not last. After Solomon's death, it split into two, the Kingdom of Israel in the north, and the Kingdom of Judah in the south. The Assyrian Empire swept in from the east and conquered the Kingdom of Israel in 722 BCE, scattering its people, the so-called 10 lost tribes, across the ancient world. Then, in 586 BCE, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar marched on Jerusalem, destroyed the first temple, and carried the people of Judah into exile in Babylon. This moment, the Babylonian captivity left a permanent scar on Jewish memory and deepened the spiritual connection to the land. But Babylon itself would not last. The Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great defeated Babylon in 539 BCE, and Cyrus famously allowed the Jewish exiles to return to their homeland. The Second Temple was built in Jerusalem, and Jewish life in Palestine continued, though always under the shadow of one empire or another. The name Palestine itself has ancient roots. It derives from Philistia, the land of the Philistines, a seafaring people who had settled along the coastal regions and clashed repeatedly with the ancient Israelites. Greek and Egyptian writers used variations of this name to refer to the broader region, and it became increasingly common in historical records. When Alexander the Great swept out of Macedonia in the 4th century BCE, he changed the world. His armies marched through Palestine in 332 BCE, ending Persian rule and opening the door to Hellenistic culture. After Alexander's death, his generals carved up his empire, and Palestine fell under the control of the Ptolemies of Egypt and later the Seleucids of Syria. Under the Seleucid ruler Antiochus IV Epiphanes, Jewish religious practice was actively suppressed. The Second Temple was desecrated, and Jewish traditions were outlawed. This sparked a fierce Jewish revolt led by the Maccabees, a priestly family who rose up against Seleucid rule and, against remarkable odds, recaptured Jerusalem and rededicated the temple. This victory is still celebrated today in the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. The Hasmonean dynasty that emerged from this revolt established an independent Jewish state that lasted for about a century. But Rome was rising, and no corner of the ancient world could escape its reach. In 63 BCE, the Roman general Pompey marched into Jerusalem, ending Hasmonean independence. Palestine became part of the Roman world, and Rome would leave a profound and complicated mark on this land. Under Roman rule, Palestine was known as Judea. The Romans appointed local rulers to maintain order, the most famous of whom was Herod the Great. A complex and brutal man, Herod was a master builder who expanded the Second Temple into one of the most magnificent structures in the ancient world. He constructed palaces, fortresses, and entire cities, including the port city of Caesarea Maritima, transforming the landscape of Palestine. It was during the reign of Herod, in the small town of Bethlehem, that Jesus of Nazareth was born according to Christian tradition. His life, teachings, death by crucifixion, and resurrection, as believed by his followers, gave rise to Christianity, one of the most influential religious movements in human history. Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Nazareth, and the Jordan River became sacred geography for billions of people across the world. Jewish resistance to Roman rule simmered and eventually boiled over. In 66 CE, the Great Jewish Revolt erupted. 4 years later, in 70 CE, Roman legions under the future Emperor Titus besieged Jerusalem, breached its walls, and destroyed the Second Temple, an event of catastrophic significance for the Jewish people. The Temple Mount was left in ruins, and Jewish life in Jerusalem was shattered. A second revolt, the Bar Kokhba Revolt, broke out between 132 and 135 CE. After crushing it, the Roman Emperor Hadrian made a deliberate and punitive decision. He renamed the province Syria-Palestina, erasing the name Judea from the map and scattering the Jewish population across the empire in what became known as the diaspora. Jerusalem itself was renamed Aelia Capitolina, and Jews were initially forbidden from entering. This moment, the Roman destruction and the diaspora, would define Jewish history for nearly 2,000 years, keeping alive a longing to return to this land that time would never extinguish. As the Roman Empire transformed and eventually adopted Christianity as its official religion, Palestine took on new religious significance for the Christian world. The Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity in 313 CE, and his mother Helena made a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, identifying sacred sites and overseeing the construction of churches. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, built over the site believed to be the location of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection, became one of the most sacred places in Christendom. Under Byzantine rule, Palestine was a Christian majority land, dotted with churches, monasteries, and pilgrimage routes. Jerusalem flourished as a center of Christian faith. But in the 7th century, a new force emerged from the Arabian Peninsula that would reshape the entire world. Stay tuned for the next part. How Muslim rule changed the history of Palestine.